I still remember what it felt like to do something and leave no trace. No photo, no post, no location tag. Just a moment that belonged only to the people who were there. And the strange part is this. Back then, that was normal. Press play, and the past doesn't feel far away. If you're Gen X, you grew up with privacy as the default setting. Not perfect privacy, not nothing bad ever happened privacy. Just a life where most ordinary moments weren't recorded, archived, analyzed, or shared. And then, quietly, privacy became something you have to actively protect. Not because you're hiding something, but because the world started keeping receipts for everything. In this video, I want to do 3 things. Take you back to how privacy used to feel. Name what changed without turning it into paranoia. And share a few ways we can keep a little dignity in a world that's always watching. Back then, you could go places and simply be there. If you met a friend at the mall, you didn't announce it to anyone. You just showed up. If you were late, they didn't track you. They waited, or they left, or they asked the cashier if you'd come by. If you took a drive to clear your head, nobody saw your route like a dotted line on a screen. You were a person moving through the world, not a signal. You could have a bad haircut, a weird outfit phase, an awkward teenage moment, and it would fade the way awkward moments are supposed to fade into story, not into evidence. Photos existed, sure, but photos were rare enough that they meant something. A roll of film, a flash cube, a photo album with plastic sleeves. Your life wasn't a feed. It was a handful of snapshots, and everything else lived in memory. And conversations were mostly private by nature. If you wanted to talk, you called the house. You might get a busy signal. You might have to speak to someone's parent first. You might have to try again later. There was friction. And that friction protected your life. Because nothing was instant, not everything became public. A joke stayed in the room. A mistake stayed between friends. You could reinvent yourself without your entire past following you around like a shadow. And you didn't have to perform your life to prove you were living it. You just lived it. Then, slowly, visibility became the default. At first, it felt harmless. Caller ID, security cameras, email, conveniences that made life smoother. Then the internet made sharing easy. Then social media made sharing rewarding. Then smartphones made sharing constant. Now your life produces data the way your body produces heat. Where you go, how long you stay, what you watch, what you click, even what you almost click. And it's not only about posting. A lot of tracking happens whether you share or not. Cameras in public spaces, apps that ask for permissions you don't think about, devices that listen for wake words, sitting quietly in the background like furniture. And the emotional shift is subtle but real. You start living as if you might be observed, not in a dramatic way, in a small, quiet way. You hesitate before you speak. You wonder how something will look out of context. You feel a gentle pressure to document the moment instead of fully inhabiting it. And over time, that changes you. Because privacy isn't just about secrecy. Privacy is where the self develops. It's where you try on thoughts before you say them out loud. It's where you process grief without needing a caption. It's where you can be messy, uncertain, unfinished, without an audience. There are 3 contrasts that define the shift. First, visibility versus invisibility. In the old world, being unobserved was normal. Now, being unobserved can feel unusual, like you have to go off-grid just to get a quiet moment. Second, temporary versus permanent. Before, most things disappeared on their own. Embarrassment had an expiration date. Now, a single moment can live forever. Saved, reposted, screenshotted, taken out of time, and turned into a label. Third, consent versus default. Back then, privacy wasn't a setting you managed. It was the baseline. Now the baseline is exposure, and privacy is the thing you have to opt into piece by piece, app by app, device by device. And the hardest part is that none of this required a villain. It happened through convenience, culture, and momentum. We didn't sign one big agreement. We just kept clicking accept because we wanted the world to work. So what do we do realistically? We rebuild small borders. Start with a simple rule. Not everything has to be shared. You can experience something beautiful and let it stay yours. That's not selfish. That's healthy. Create a daily off-camera hour. No posting, no scrolling, no checking. Just you in your actual life. Turn off the little defaults that invite constant tracking. Location permissions that don't need to be on. Notifications that don't deserve your attention. Apps that want access to everything when they only need one thing. Be intentional about what you put online, especially about other people. Not everyone consented to be part of your story on the internet. We used to understand that instinctively. And if you have younger people in your life, teach them something simple. Privacy isn't hiding. Privacy is ownership. It's the ability to say, this moment belongs to me, and mean it. Because here's the truth. The more public the world gets, the more valuable private life becomes. If you miss the old feeling of privacy, you're not being dramatic. You're remembering what it's like to be a person who isn't constantly measurable. And maybe that's the Gen X skill. Again, quietly, stubbornly, rebuilding boundaries without making a speech about it. What's one private moment you miss from the old world? A drive with no one knowing where you were? A laugh that stayed in the room? A day that left no digital trail? Drop your birth year and one memory in the comments. Subscribe to Gen X Reflections for more time capsule stories. Next time, we'll talk about the moment childhood started being documented and stopped being simply lived. Until then, keep one moment today just for yourself. If this video hit you right in the memories, then the next one I am recommending below will probably have you nodding along too. Click it right now to watch.